Welcome to the extended version of this lesson on the essentials of universal story language. We just looked at what USL is, why it works so well, and covered a brief overview of the steps in order. Now, let's talk about why this model works for a variety of stories, then hammer home our knowledge with an in-depth example of 1988's Die Hard. Let's start with the elephant in the room. A common thought a lot of writers have when thinking about story structure is that it only works to write a specific kind of story. And that is a totally fair hesitation. The only problem is, it's not true. Story structure gets a bad rap as making stories formulaic or predictable. But that's just bad writing. And we can prove this. Make a list of 5 of your favorite movies. Chances are at least 4 of them follow story structure pretty closely. Action movies like 21 Jump Street, classics like Casablanca, mockumentaries like Borat, and even indie hits like Juno all follow the same rhythms of storytelling. And once you understand how movies made in different centuries with different tones and totally different plots still follow the same 15 steps, you can unlock the hidden power inside your story to make it just as memorable. So here are a few genres and how USL works with each of them. One super popular genre is romance. Where a quest story might deliver an opportunity for adventure, a romance usually starts with a meeting or re-meeting of the two love interests. This would be our catalyst. There's usually some hesitation before the lovers decide to make it official, and the start of the relationship is almost always the outer gateway. The lovers will test out the new situation of their relationship before taking things to the next level at the midpoint. And yes, if you check out the middle of most romances, you'll find a steamy scene. Then they'll start arguing and break up at the moment of peril, which you can probably remember in a good handful of stories. They mope around until one of them has an epiphany that maybe they need to grow before being in the relationship, and they rush back to make a profession of love in the story climax. Trust us, we get it. It sounds like we're describing the most stereotypical love story ever. But put this against most romance movies or books, and we can guarantee things will line up. Still don't believe us? Even prank movies like Borat or Bad Trip, which seem like a series of unrelated sketches at first, follow story structure to a T. Both movies feature a protag with the goal of traveling across the country to woo a love interest, and they both start their journeys when they acquire cars in the outer gateway. Both feature some successes followed by failures that end with the protag left stranded and friendless on the side of the road in the moment of peril. They both feature an epiphany that leads to the protag reconnecting with their best friend, then finding the love interest in the story climax. The reason this model works in so many different stories is because it all boils down to a person going after something they want. And that's at the heart of every great story. Whether it's a detective trying to solve a case, a group of teenagers trying to kill a supernatural monster, or just someone trying to impress their crush, the core is always a protag pursuing a goal. And yes, there are stories that don't follow the steps exactly. There are stories that don't follow them at all. But by and large, stories follow this rhythm because humans respond to this rhythm. And even if you're only learning structure so you can break it, this course will be invaluable to you. As we mentioned in the last mini course, these are tools, not rules. Learn them, use them, and know why you're breaking them. That's how you'll become an incredible writer. Now, let's see USL in action with our in-depth example.
Die Hard is a 1988 action movie that follows John McClane, a New York cop, as he's forced to save the day when terrorists invade his wife's office Christmas party. It's a perfectly plotted film, which is probably why it's now a Christmas classic, and of course, follows every step of USL. To start, our protag begins in his ordinary world as he travels to see his wife and rekindle their marriage. This is the setup. He meets her at her office Christmas party and the two start to chat. It's too bad the catalyst crashes in as international terrorist Hans Gruber. This presents an opportunity for John. Want to impress your wife? Why don't you save her life? But of course, John doesn't just jump into action. He hesitates, which is of course the hesitation phase. Then, deciding he must do something, he sets his goal as stopping Gruber and pulls a fire alarm, which is the outer gateway and the break between Act 1 and Act 2. John tests out the new situation in the testing phase, gathering supplies like detonators and a walkie-talkie. However, danger arises as Gruber sends several henchmen after John in the moment of danger. Things start looking up as John escapes into the vents, takes out a few guards, and gets a policeman's attention, which is the kind of success we can expect in the uphill climb. And when John hears the police are on the way, it seems like a big success, one we might find at the midpoint. Too bad he has Gruber's detonators, meaning he'll be hunted down, the huge failure we expect of the midpoint as well. Things start going south in the downhill fall as John's identity is revealed, an office worker is killed, and Gruber chases John into a cubicle full of broken glass. And of course, the worst thing that could happen to the protag comes in the moment of peril, when Gruber recovers his detonators while John is seriously injured. Now John has hit his lowest point as his feet bleed out in the bathroom in the rock bottom. But John has his epiphany when he professes his love for his wife and has a realization about Gruber's plan, which is the inner gateway and the break between Act 2 and Act 3. John rushes to the roof to find a bunch of explosives, which starts his final plan. He takes out some henchmen, iconically jumps off the roof with a fire hose, and heads to confront Gruber with only 2 bullets left. Then, in the story climax, John uses a clever trick to outsmart Gruber, takes him out, saves Holly, and of course, they kiss. Finally, in the aftermath, we see them head home together, a happy ending to this Christmas classic. If you were asked to label Die Hard as formulaic, you probably wouldn't, and yet, here it is, following every step perfectly. That's the magic of USL. It works with so many great stories, because great stories follow the same rhythm, and USL gives us a way to harness that rhythm. So, let's get harnessing.
That brings us to the end of this extended lesson. Hopefully you can now see how story structure can apply to a variety of stories, not just quest myths. Even movies that seem like a bunch of sketches still follow USL perfectly. Now that you've seen an overview of USL with our in-depth example, we can start getting into the nitty-gritty of each step to help you become an absolute storytelling master.